Well, good evening. Welcome to StoriesRoc, or should I say Patti Fields Fan Club. For whatever reason you're here, it's really lovely to see you. Thank you. StoriesRoc is an opportunity to share true personal stories on a common theme in front of a live audience. And so tonight, we are featuring stories about mystery. So you'll hear a wide variety of stories on that particular topic. Okay, our last speaker tonight, Patti Fields, is a long-time student of a course in marketing. Patti is devoted to finding the answers to life's deepest questions and living a life where love is the main ingredient. She has 3 daughters, one of them here tonight. They constantly remind her how to love deeply, open to life's challenges, honor ourselves, and serve others. But something you need to know about Patti. Despite her peaceful presence, when she is playing pickleball, I have heard that her competitive spirit comes out. And her opponents have to duck, and run for cover. And she's at the net. Her secret loves are eating Hershey Kisses before bed and watching Grey's Anatomy and vacuuming. Now that's the great mystery. We'll cure you of that. Yes. Patti will share her story, Dreaming Miracles. Welcome, Patti.
As soon as I entered the catacomb, I am enveloped in darkness. I can just make out a rock, so I begin to move slowly, feeling along its edges, being careful not to trip and fall. The climb becomes steeper, and the rocks are jagged, with little more than 6 inches of surface to place my feet. Below is a fiery pit of hot flames and bubbling lava, reminding me that one wrong move and it will all be over. I forge upward, navigating the rocks, frightened, alone, and with each step less hopeful that I will survive. As I near the top of the mountainous terrain, I place my foot on a rock and it begins to wobble. I begin to sway. I don't have the strength to steady myself, so I give in and fall over the cliff toward the flames that seem to be reaching up to meet me halfway. As I fall into the fiery abyss with a feeling of resignation, I think to myself, it all ends here. Suddenly, an enormous hand comes down from the heavens and swoops me up, catching me just before the flames touch me. As I lay cradled within its strong protection, I feel safe and loved. I had this dream the night after I buried my baby. This dream was the first of many mysterious, wondrous communications I have received from an invisible yet very real inner intelligence. They come during times of great distress and confusion. They offer guidance and correction. They are kind and helpful, sometimes funny and very wise. But dreams were not always this way for me. Like many of you, I dreamt of scary monsters chasing me, showing up naked to work, and forgetting my locker combination. But after my first experience with real suffering, I became a seeker of knowledge, of understanding, of truth. I began to ask the harder questions, and for this, my deeper intelligence began answering me in dreams. Soon after the first dream, while I was still experiencing intense grief, feeling isolated and hopeless, I received another dream that gave me a glimpse into the future and helped me to carry on. I am standing alone in a long corridor. At the end of the hall, there is a closed door. I walk down the corridor, arrive at the door, open it, and step across the threshold. I find myself in a grand ballroom filled with about 100 people all standing in a circle holding hands. Light is streaming from the dome-shaped ceiling and irradiates throughout the room, touching everyone. I take my place in the circle, hold the hands of the people to my left and to the right, and open my mouth as if I'm going to say something. But what comes forth is the most beautiful sound I have ever heard. Angelic, powerful, sweet, embracing. As the vibration extends outward, everyone begins to sing the same note, and the grand hall is filled with the sound of angels. When I first started telling people about these dreams, they would remark, "I wish I could dream like that." And I would say, the only reason I'm receiving communication in my sleep is because I have to be practically unconscious for me to listen. We all have our own way of communicating with this divine intelligence. My way happens to be dreams. Others see it, feel it, sense it, or hear it. And it goes by many names. Some call it intuition. Others refer to it as supernatural, or spirit, or God. I call it dreaming miracles. So consider for a moment that there is an inner wisdom trying to communicate with you all of the time. There is a part of you that understands the real problem and the real solution. It wants to remind you of the peace that is always yours and the love that surrounds you always. All you have to do is listen. But are we always willing to listen? Soon after my divorce, I was in a state of fear and worry. How was I going to support myself? My prayers were a frantic cry of, "What should I do?" And each time I would pray, I would receive this answer: "Sit still and look within." This was not the answer I was looking for. So I began to argue, naturally. "Do nothing? Are you crazy? I'm a single woman who hasn't been in the workforce in years, raising 3 daughters, and you want me to sit still and look within? I don't have time." I continued to worry and frantically search for what I could do until one day, in total frustration, I asked, "How can I follow such radical guidance in the midst of such fear?" That night, I had my answer, and it came in a dream. The dream begins with me as a passenger on the Titanic right at the moment when we discover the boat is sinking. Everyone, including myself, is trying to figure out a way to safety, a way that will hold death at bay. Hundreds of people try to get up to the deck, scrambling over one another to find life jackets and lifeboats. Some passengers jump, hoping a boat will eventually come to their rescue. I stand paralyzed in fear. None of these options seem to be a sure bet. As I struggle to make a choice, I notice a beautiful, loving presence standing in front of me. This presence is pure light, calm and peaceful, a stark difference to the fear and panic of the rest of us on the boat. And it speaks to me. "Come and follow me. I know the way that will save you." I immediately feel a sense of relief. Somebody actually knows the way. So I lean in closer to hear what choice I should make. The presence continues. "Here's what we must do. We must go to the very bottom of the boat." There's a split-second pause as I wonder to myself, did he say bottom? "What?" I scream out loud. "The bottom? But that's insanity and sure death. How can that be the way?" I'm beginning to feel a little bit of panic now. Maybe the presence doesn't know the law of physics and never saw the ending to the movie Titanic. And yet, the presence remains calm and certain. And it explains to me what they don't know, as it points to all the frantic people going up, is that the act of hitting the very bottom of the boat creates a propelling motion that raises you up out of the boat and onto dry land with no effort at all on your part. I begin to see the logic here, even though my mind is silently arguing with the insanity of going in the opposite direction of what everyone else is doing. And yet, I sense the present certainty and calm. So I begin to consider going to the bottom. At this moment, however, I decide that I will feel a lot better about my choice if others will come along with me. So I ask, why isn't anyone else following us down to the bottom? And the presence gently responds, because they can't hear me. I take a quick look around and see that this is true. Everyone is screaming in terror and can't hear the presence even speak of this other way. So even though I still see going to the bottom as insanity, I take comfort in realizing that the presence is 100% certain. So I take its hand and we enter an elevator and begin to descend to the bottom of the boat. As I see the water line rise up to meet my feet, I'm a little nervous. I look to see how the presence is reacting to this. But even the rising water does not sway its calm and certainty. I begin to wonder what it will be like to have the water cover me completely, to not be able to breathe, to suffocate under the water. At the very moment I'm having these thoughts, I notice the water is rising above my head, but I'm not touched by it. It's like the Red Sea parting. A wall of water stands a good 2 feet away from me. I can't believe it. I can actually breathe. The water's not engulfing me. How can this be? This makes no sense. It's impossible. And then it dawns on me. The presence must not operate under the laws of the world. And when I took its hand, I placed myself under new laws, ones where miracles happen. My last thought before I woke up was, from now on, things are going to be very different. So I could share with you other dreams I've had that would teach us to trust in these messages, to not be afraid to listen. I could share with you evidence gathered from the history pages, the accounts of visionaries and mystics and ordinary people like myself, to prove that this communication is natural. But what I will leave you with is a dream I had that teaches us the most important lesson of all, that we are connected always, that we communicate with one another constantly, and that love is the language that we speak. So first, a little background. When I was 17, I had my first serious relationship. We had a strong connection, one that went beyond our young years, beyond what you would expect for high school. We went our separate ways after our freshman year in college. He married and I married. We had been in touch here and there, running into each other in our hometown, but it had been a few years since we last communicated, when the most amazing and mysterious thing happened. One night, as I'm sleeping, he visits me in a dream. But it doesn't feel like I'm dreaming. It feels very real as it feels right now when I'm with all of you. I am thrilled to see him. "What are you doing here?" I say. "I'm so glad to see you." My first instinct is to rush into his arms for a big hug, but I remember that he's married. So I turn to my left and see his wife sitting in a chair. I ask her, "Is it okay if I go up and hug him?" She smiles sweetly. Of course. So I approach him and we hug. I can feel the hug as if it's really happening. And in that hug, we feel the deep connection that we shared, the comfort of being old friends, the trust that was always between us. After a while, he looks at me and says, "I have to go now." "Oh," I reply, "okay. It's so great to see you. I'm happy you came." And he fades into the background. When I woke up, I felt happy and grateful that I got to see him again. And I carried this feeling with me throughout the morning. Later that day, I received a phone call from a high school friend. "Did you hear the news about Mike? He died this morning." Upon hearing these words, a deep calm came over me. I marveled in the awareness that something mysterious and miraculous just happened. I closed my eyes and relived the experience of the night before to remind myself that there is no such thing as separation. A few months later, I sat with his wife and she shared with me the story of his transition. She told me that he had been in a coma for 3 days. She sat in a chair by his bedside, never leaving him even for a minute. In the early hours of the morning, he suddenly sat up and said to her, "I have to go now." And then he peacefully slipped away. I then told her about my dream, and we cried and hugged, knowing that the three of us had been a part of something much greater than ourselves. Together, we had touched on something divine. We experienced what truly connects us all, a never-ending bond of love that nothing in this world can take from us. So when we communicate with this inner intelligence, is it a mystery? The definition of mystery is something that is difficult or impossible to understand or explain. I can't tell you how this communication happens. I can't tell you why it happens. But I can tell you that it does happen.